The Ordinals show.
Based. B1. B. Based. 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 Based.
Oh, it never gets old. I should have probably given my computer a bit of a restart. It seems to be struggling. Probably all the tabs I've got open. I wasn't sure exactly what to talk about this week, so I thought maybe we'd talk about generally about experimenting with music on Web3. Ordinals really triggered an explosion in possibilities really, but some people have been, trying to do new things using ordinals as a way of creating elements that can never be altered or destroyed. And some of those have been music programs. I was just looking over some things that I'd found over the last few months. This is one of them. This is the first, I think one of the first things that I saw in terms of instruments on chain. And so you can place a seed in here, any seed that you like, and then hit generate track. Change the seed. This is my computer's really struggling. I don't know if I've got something open that I shouldn't have. Let's see if I can close a few extra bits, because it's struggling to play even simple instruments like this. But yeah, so this is one of the first things that I saw where people were doing some really cool stuff. How big is this? It's a tiny file as well, and it looks like it's almost infinite in what it could produce. I'd actually really love to incorporate this into the sequencer at some point. It's very simple, but it's a very cool idea. It was super early in getting into this stuff. I've saved up a few things in here to look at. This is another synth that I found. came a little bit later on, but this one's kind of cool because each of these sort of buttons represents notes playing at a certain point in the song. I'll show you if you click them on. So that's just going to loop there, but I can also add different notes in at different points in the loop. I don't know if there's any controls in here for changing the tempo. There may be built in. So I don't think it's anything to do with how you're tapping it. Yeah, so that's a bit of fun something to play with. Again, it'd be cool to figure out how to kind of integrate this into a bigger music engine, so you can just pull in all of these things and use them at will in future kind of mixes. What's this? This is this is my first. I think this is the first. Yeah, this is the first Audional. I called them Ordinals at that time. Because I thought, let's just say it the same, but then I found there was another outfit called Ordinals, so I changed it to Audionals, which has caused no end of confusion. But yeah, this was the very first one. I guess that's the audio data is this here, which you can't see. If I go into the content link, you'll see. There you go. So that's all that's the audio converted into text, so it can be placed into a text document like this, and then it can hold metadata, which can be used later on to help integrate it into future songs or platforms without the platforms themselves having to do so much work. And this was my first sort of experimenting with playing with recursion effectively, so taking a piece of audio that I'd converted into text into this JSON file, and then could I pull that into a basic playback engine. So that's all it does. That single little loop, that's what all of that data is. All of that is this. I could just keep, I think I also inscribed, is that going to link to it? To that? I don't know what that did, but I thought I had a link here that linked to an example of the JSON standard that people could employ to start doing this. And then this was the next one. So this is, what's this, 13 million. So this was then another attempt at recursively pulling in multiple audio files and setting up a sort of basic loop. So I had inscribed, that's the first ordinal, and then play, oh I see, play ordinal 1, loop it, and then this one is, and that's my bass line, inscribed. So the idea was that you could just play it once. You could also set it into a loop, all within the ordinal. And then I could play. You probably can't see me clicking there, but that was just me clicking on this ordinal number 2 to play it when I wanted to. So that was my first sort of experiments, and then that eventually led to the sequencer. So this was the first sequencer that I inscribed. It's just a 4-track. I think I inscribed it with a built-in song. I know, that's right. I remember now that I actually inscribed it empty because it was just going to be the engine for the player. So the idea was that I created a song using the sequencer, and then actually created a player that was then going to simulate the recreation of the song that I'd written on the sequencer. It was pretty simple, but I was trying to see what I could do with recursion and JavaScript. do love cheese, but that was the first player, first kind of recursive song, I guess, that I put together as part of experimenting with this technology. And then, in fact, someone got in touch with me, someone called Color. He's a French DJ, and he did a sort of drum and bass type mix. I'm just going to find, because I didn't line it up. Is this it? Yeah, this is it. I'll play this one. So this was called, you call this Audionals Pump. D&B mixed by Colour. Let's have a listen to this one.
Audionals. Audionals. Pump it! 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 Audionals. Pump it!
That's one small step for man.
Audionals.
That's one small step for man.
Audionals.
That's one small step for man.
Audionals.
That's one small step for man.
Audionals. Pump it! 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 Pump it! Audionals. 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 Pump it!
That's one small step for man. That's one small step for man. That's one small step for man. That's one small step for man.
Pump it!
That's one small step for man.
Audionals.
That's one small step for man.
Audionals. Pump it!
That's one small step for man.
Audionals. Pump it!
That's one small step for man.
Audionals. Pump it!
That's one small step for man.
Audionals. Pump it!
That's one small step for man.
Audionals. Pump it!
That's one small step for man.
Audionals.
Oh yeah, that's right. It cuts off prematurely. I forgot about that. That was when we were making that. Colour was really helpful in the sort of early days because he was kind of on my back about stuff that didn't work, which of course, like none of it worked. But he was he saw the potential and he's like, oh, it needs to do this. This should work. That should work. It needs to do more loops. And at that time, the sequencer at the time was a single loop. I think I had got it to. I think there was an 8. Oh no, this was it. This one here is the engine so this is what was backing up. What is that? So you can go and have a play with this. So that's 24,227,850. I don't know if it works in this window here. You kind of need to go to the content link. But once you're in the content link, I think if you click here, yeah, there you go. They're all hardwired in here. All of these are all Longstreet. For anyone who's a Stack supporter, you'll know Longstreet. All of these Bitcoin Step. We're still. This might be one of the longest running art projects in Bitcoin history. We've been trying to get this working for. Oh, why isn't that playing? Huh, maybe this doesn't work. I thought this was supposed to work forever, or I built it. I'm surprised that that's not loading. Anyway, have to have another look at that another time. But anyway, so that was all built on there. These players were using this as the engine to play the songs recursively, and when I was doing this with color, that's not his one, is it? Oh, I got rid of it. The way we were putting these together was using, because obviously they're longer than a single sequence. A single sequence is this. This is a single 64-step sequence. So once we get through those 64 steps, which is just 4 bars, 1, 2, 3, 4, that's it. We're back to the beginning of the loop again. So I had to use some trickery in the Audex files, as I was calling them, which are the text files, the instructions for putting the song together. I had to do it manually, and so we were like writing songs which involved looking at sort of spreadsheets and copying and pasting a bunch of numbers from different lines onto other lines. It was chaotic at best, but I was really appreciative of Carla, because he got there. He had that pioneering spirit. He could see how difficult it was, but he didn't let it hold him back at all from consistently asking me to improve it and make it work better. And then in the end, I gave him 99%, because for some reason I think I hard coded an end to the song, because I didn't want it running in the background when people had listened to the song. I think there was something going on, and so I sort of put a hard stop in there, and I accidentally cut off maybe just the last note. I might have said the last note was the end, rather than saying play the last note and then end. So that was bit of a pain in the neck for Colour, and he'll only have to live with that for all of eternity. But there you go. What's next? So then started playing around with synths. Synths was something that I think I showed you guys last week, what I've been doing with the sequencer, and building synths into the sequencer. And better than that, I've now been creating a kind of generic synth setup. So it's got the MIDI, so you're able to hook up your keyboard straight away. It's got a basic UI with a bunch of generic pots and sliders for changing various settings. And then the actual synth code itself is a couple of hundred lines of code, which GPT can knock together in a flash. The idea being that I'm trying to create a generic one-size-fits-all, bring your own synth kind of setup, where all you have to do is take out my code, like that 100 lines in the middle, and then go to GPT and say, I want a synth that sounds like a Fender Rhodes. You don't have to worry about the UI. You don't have to worry about connecting it to anything. You've just got to create the basic synth function, the central synth engine, which is just a bunch of oscillators and some again, it's GPT stuff. You don't need to worry too much about it. Just tell GPT the sound you're looking for, and get it to create a JavaScript synth module, and then you should be able to very soon. I'll get this reopened up. You'll be able to drop your own synth, which will only be, as I said, a couple of hundred lines of code. Probably ends up compressing down to about a kilobyte, maybe less than a kilobyte of data. So a cost of a couple of dollars to inscribe your own synth, which you can then use in future compositions, on-chain, programmatically assembled songs using your own synth that lives in your own Bitcoin wallet. That's how your attribution is guaranteed. But more than that, other people can then also use your synth in their songs, again placing your Bitcoin wallet, your address, your app inside the DNA of their songs. So it's going to be really interesting when people realize just how open this is, and how it's arriving at this incredible moment when you're able to sit down with your AI assistant and say, make me a synth that does this, and about 30 seconds later it's in your hands ready to play with. So that's why I've been trying to build this in a generic way, so that you don't have to keep, we don't have to keep reinscribing the UI and the the MIDI controller keyboard stuff. All of that boring stuff is kind of done. Inscriptions that when you inscribe your synth module, it will inscribe with all of the existing inscribed elements, being the UI and all the MIDI control, all that sort of stuff will just be pulled in. So your new synth will just instantly have a way of operating, and then again pull that into the sequencer, and now you're making music that you can inscribe as tiny 10-20 kilobyte files representing 70 megabyte audio masters on Bitcoin. So yeah, so synths is the way. This was me having a my very first attempt really at creating a synth. I can't again plug my keyboard in right now because I've got this mic plugged in, and they're both the old USB, big USB plug. But I can play it manually like this. I think I can play. I can play with the keys on my keyboard. So you can, again, if you go into this one, what's the number of this? 35,259,459. That's quite a good one to remember. 35259,459. Again, go into, I don't know if that works in there. It does work in there, but it looks a little bit crowded. So go to the content link, and then you can see it in all its glory. Your keyboard keys, I think the sort of ASDF, the middle line, and some of the top line, some of the bottom line, ones towards the middle, they do it's just the top two lines, I think. Here it's entering in notes. I've got to remember what I was doing here. This is an arpeggiator. Not sure what happened there. That was my early coding. Like I said, my first synth I made, but it was still it's a remarkably simple piece. I don't know if we can see what the size is of this. I doubt I compressed this when I was doing it. Okay, so that's 14 kilobytes, and that would be uncompressed and me with my learner plates on. So that was, yeah, like I said, something like this now, it would be around 2 to 3 kilobytes at most. So again, it's really, really cheap to create, and you can see just how dynamic this is. It's you know, it's modeled after my favorite synth, MS-10, Korg MS-10. But like I said, it's a remarkably simple piece of code, really, and it does what it says on the tin. I wanted an MS-10 sound. I wanted the saw wave, the square wave, the triangle. I wanted cut off, release, resonance. You know, these are the controls I wanted. But again, the engine that's driving this, a lot of the code is this UI. A lot of the code is, you know, how do the faders work? How do the buttons look? How does all this work? Once you sort of take all of that into a generic model, and all you're loading in is the engine, what does it sound like? Is even smaller. Is really, really small. Is, like I said, is a few hundred bytes probably. And so once you're able to just ask for the sound you want, it could just be a one-trick pony. You could just, you know, explain what you're looking for. I'm looking for a, you know, you might say I'm looking for a heavily distorted, overdriven sawtooth wave starting at 5 kilohertz and moving down to 20 hertz and back up again. You could create just something that's just modulating. It doesn't have to be something that's expressive that you can play with a keyboard. It can just be a one-hit thing. It could be a single sub-note. I think I said last week the Max, you know, all the VST plugins that are built with Max, that is also something that's now easy to bridge over to JavaScript. So, you know, imagine just all of your favorite VST plugins available in this on-chain environment for you to use, just like you would use for making regular music, except you're making music in an on-chain environment with all the benefits that are yet to really be felt, but I'm pretty sure within the decade or so, I think people will look back at how we allowed music to leave our hands as artists from the second we gave out the master recording into this world completely ruled by trust. It's going to seem archaic, I think, to the next generation of musicians who can maintain a cryptographic connection to their work for life. It's revolutionary. And we're just seeing the tip of the iceberg. We're not even seeing the tip of the iceberg. I think I can see the tip of the iceberg. There's a few people who I think can kind of see what's going on here, but for the masses, it takes time. It takes time, and it also, to capture people's imagination. People like us, people who are looking a little further ahead of what is going on right now, can start experimenting with this stuff. And then when people can hear the product rather than seeing these tools and these ideas, we need songs like this. You know, this is the French Montana, and you know what, I just realized this feels like a bit of a crime for someone who works in Ordinals. I haven't listened to this yet. I'm just always so busy with my head in my own stuff, so let's have a listen to this now. Okay, I'll unmute it. Is that halfway through? Okay, rewind, reload.
Shit's Nate the straight cookie motherfucker.
I can feel my face. Money bags ain't from my eyes. You don't know how much I make. Spend like a dub with them titties. Another 15 on the cake. Money bags ain't from my eyes. She don't know how much I make. I bet she curious. I bet she curious. I bet she is. She bad curious. She bad curious. I bet she is. I bet she curious. I bet she curious. I bet she is. She bad curious. Add me up. Shorty soak up all the pain. She wanna see all them foreigns outside. She wanna upgrade from that range. Fuck with the stripper from Blue Flame. Fuck around, hop out with 2 flames. Trap on the road, she got 2 names. Ran up a M, now her mood changed. She like the shot, I like the splurge. Drinking that wop, vision is blurred. Spinning the block, she got some nerve. Saturday Turks, Sunday in church. Crazy ass bitch, get on my nerve. Keep coming back, I never learn. Shorty's a gift, shorty's a curse. She try to trick me, suck out a bird. I can feel my face. Money bags ain't from my eyes. She don't know how much I make. Spend like a dub on them titties. Another 15 on the cake. Money bags ain't from my eyes. She don't know how much I make. I bet she curious. I bet she curious. She bad curious. She bad curious. I bet she curious. I bet she curious. She bad curious. I bet she curious. She don't know how much I make.
Well, there you go. Pretty cool. Although it's an MP3, but that's the best you can do if you're going to mix it on here. But that just gave me an idea as I was watching that, which was that I'm guessing this is MP3. Let me just find some more info on this. Let's see if we can pull this into the sequencer, because it could be cool to do a kind of remix, a remix thing. You know, try to get people to remix this. Let me see. We're doing an ordinal ID. Reloaded. Okay, so once you load stuff into the sequencer, obviously this is just recursion that's going on here. And if I was to take this song and load it into all 16 channels and then cut loads of different sections out of it, re-loop it all up, I'm literally only putting one single URL link in that remix file, and that's the biggest piece of data that needs to go in the file, which is basically, you know, it's a URL like those ones like this. So it looks like this section. So it's a big chunk, really, when you're trying to get your files as small as possible. This is something that you can't do a lot with. It has to just kind of go in there as is. Even if I have got files where the entire ordinal program is less code than is in this single link, which you're linking to. But so what we can do is we can link to, we can load in the French Montana song into all 16 channels, make these mega remixes, each of which would be, like I said, basically that address, plus a couple of lines, not even lines, just a sequence of figures, which is the channels and the trim times of each section. But it would be a few bytes. Less than a kilobyte, that would be a cool idea to get people to do some remixes, because all you do is you go in here, you highlight a section. I kind of need to improve this bit of the UI a bit. It'd be good to know what the actual tempo of this is as well. So if I loop that up,
Cut a burk. Cut a burk.
Shit, nigga, straight cookie, motherfucker.
Oh, I was having fun there. And I've triggered something. Triggered an avalanche. Oh, that was fun. But yeah, I think what I was saying was it would be a cool thing to get people to do remixes. That's a shame I didn't manage to save that. I reset it in panic. Whoops. You should always save as you're going. Save as you're going with that stuff. It just saves a little JSON file to your hard drive, which then when you come back in at any other time, you could just hit load and load your file up and start. And that little JSON file, it's 10 kilobytes or 20 kilobytes. That's the magic file. That's the thing that ultimately is going to be the engine to your song. It's the only thing you're going to have to inscribe is that little file is going to be your full resolution. If you're using OB1's WAV quality master resolution audio file song. But yeah, it would be great to, what I might do is create a preset with all 16 of these channels set to the Bad Curious song, and then yeah, we'll see what people can come up with. I might come up with a little template. Maybe I'll stick like a kick snare hat. There's a new one, isn't there? There's a new OB1 which I haven't even had a play with yet, which is like DJ scratchy type effects. So maybe I'll get a couple of them lined up, and then a load of the Bad Curious, and then people can have a little play. You just go into this trim setting here and you trim up the section that you want to loop up, and then just hit save. And all you got to do is send those save files. You can send to anybody else who just got to go into the sequencer, and they can load your file. They don't need anything else from you other than that tiny little 10 kilobyte file, because everything else that we're using here is all on chain, so it's all shared. So there's none of the complications that there used to be with collaboration. Collaboration in this environment is another level. So yeah, that would be a cool project to get people doing that, remixing French Montana, and then maybe if we get the best of the bunch, we can record the first album. We'll not record. We'll inscribe those remixes into an album of some sort of remixes. Yeah, that would be cool. I'm down with that. See if I can fit that into my schedule. I think that's everything I had lined up here. Was there anything else that I was going to mention? This has save and load. Okay, so that does load. This one might work, by the way. I just can't remember what I did here. This inscription 24227850. It's got load and save, so that's a good sign. I just can't remember what the format's going to be back then. It's going to be a very uncompressed Audex format. I can send out people what the format is if they want to have a play with that, because it's kind of cool. Because then if you can just create something on here, save it, you can send that to anyone, and then they can just access the sequencer. At the moment, it's accessed through my website, but this will be an inscribed version at some point. But this basic 8 track is inscribed, so you can write music on here. If we can find the files to start you off, because that doesn't seem to work. Oh no, you can load them in there, but then it wasn't playing. Anyway, I'll come back to that. But yeah, if you want to have a play, I've shown you where it is, and I'll get this one inscribed. And there's this synth as well. Have a play with this. This is a lot of fun. I have got saved settings. I'm not sure if that's going to save your ARP or not. I can't remember how robust that was. But have a play, because you might be able to save You know, if you get a really cool arpeggiator going, you might be able to save it and then come back and load it. I also do not think the timing mechanism of this is as tight as I got with the OB1s. The OB1 timing mechanisms was something that I spent an enormous amount of time on. I got really carried away with kind of perfecting the timing on these guys, because it had to be right anyway. But yeah, I tried creating a song earlier using the timing of the synth, which I've lost now. Timing of the synth with the sequencer and the OB1s, and it's just it was slipping out. I have got this nudge here, but I couldn't even tell if that was working. I don't know, but it's still fun to play with. And the next version of this will be inside the sequencer properly in here. You can already load you can load the basic synth in here now by right clicking, I think. Yeah, right click, load synth. It loads up down here, and then this one doesn't have the ARP and stuff built in, but you can then record the MIDI. Once you stop recording, you go up here and it's actually buffered the synth audio. You can play this using MIDI or audio. Having the audio option just means you can utilize some more functions on chain. It's quite interesting, the idea of having a synth. It's a digital instrument. There's no inscribed audio, and yet in a totally sort of programmatic process, we can simulate the playing of the synth. So it'll play exactly what I've recorded, what I've asked it to play, what's recorded in its MIDI commands, into an audio buffer, and then it is audio. I haven't inscribed it, but it's audio that I can sort of give life to on chain. It doesn't exist as audio until I tell that synth to simulate these instructions and output an audio buffer of the result, and then I can open it up in the trim. I can pitch shift. I can do all the different things that I could do with audio, despite the audio not existing. It's just, it temporarily springs into life while you're playing with the song, but then it just goes back to being a synth again, and the audio disappears from your local memory. Yes. Okay, so I've just got to remember that. French Montana remix. Let's do this. A French Montana remix preset. So next week when I come back, hopefully I'll say, right, I've got this preset. You go into the sequencer, you click. Where even is the preset buttons? Have I broken it? Or is it? Oh no, it's there. So you click load, and then yeah, so one of these presets hopefully next week will be for the French Montana remix, and then we'll see if we can get some people actually making some tunes and sharing them, and then if we think they're good enough, then we'll inscribe them. Cool. I think that's it for this week. I might close it out with Freedom to Transact, the other song we've put together with the OB1 collection of WAV instruments inscribed at great expense. Those guys have really forked out. They were even inscribing when the fees were really mega. During the whole runes thing, they are determined, which is awesome, because I am too. Where is it? Is it these? No. Oh, there you go. Okay, so let's close all of this stuff. Here we are. So yeah, I think that's been fairly informative. Dive into experimenting on Web3 with music and instruments and things that haven't even come to pass yet, but will do very soon when people realise the power this puts in our hands. So power to the people, and let's keep moving forwards. And thanks again, and I will be back next week for another episode.
Freedom to transact.